Hello, my name is Goran Mekic, or Meka for short. You're watching Tilda stream about FreeBSD and CBSD and Reggae, and that's what you're seeing on the screen. We're going to talk about today, well, I am, about how exactly Reggae uses CBSD, what was the integration, and what are other features of CBSD that are not used by Reggae, but they are available to you as a CBSD tool. So previously, uh, I introduced the comms repository that has, well, communication uh, jails and services. Uh, Vars MK to actually um, override if you need to override something locally. You can override post setup, for example, for everyone, meaning whoever downloads the repository. But if you need local changes, this is what it's used. And we have few services that are being used, and obviously not all of them, depending on this variable here. And let's see how to, for example, I didn't want to wait so all these jails are up. So there is command make login. But let's see what it actually does. Is jlogin. There's this command, and you can say, for example, I wanna go to the mail, or you can say mail, and you're here, right? So there is obviously tight integration between Reggae and CBSD. So let's see what's out there. If you type help, it's quite a list, but I think it's this. Yeah, luckily I have it in my history. So you can see it's quite a lot of commands here that CBSD can run, and I'm obviously not going to go through all of them and explain them all. It's uh, it's best if you go to cbsd.io and see what is there. That's where the documentation is, and uh, let's say one color. And for example, if you want to see the help for JStart, this is how you would do it. And there is even more help on this URL, right? It's not all transferred to CBSD.io, and it's a work in progress. Unfortunately, slow one. The slower than I would want it to be, but we're going towards better documentation over time. So this is how you can treat all commands. Either restart, stop, right, uh, TLS. Okay, so they are going to have what we call offline documentation and the link to an online documentation if you need it. Ideally, over time, these links are going to be towards CBSD IO because it's easier to search and get to the info you want. But for now, the documentation is somewhat written. It needs lecturing, but the information is in the files. Okay, so basically there is a pattern to CBSD commands, as you can see with the help. They're all going to tell you there is external link that you can check out with some examples or whatnot. And there is this master help or list of commands that you can use in your well, daily work. And you can see there's some Zen specific VirtualBox or some generally helpers to everyday system administration of CBSD basically. And that's how you would um, get help. But let's say there is no well, somewhat there is no such a thing as Reggae. Uh, Somewhat because the PF is already configured, so it has to be um, updated with the new leased IP address. So it somewhat depends on Reggae, but not much. And I'm going to show you what. And maybe you want to ditch Reggae because you want even simpler setup. So I'm going to show you what's the difference. Um, the I think most commonly used command for a newcomer is how to create a jail, start it, stop it, and destroy it, and log into it. Right. So there are 5 basic operations that I would like to show how to achieve only using CBSD. Right. So, okay. No, wait. There is JConstruct. All right. And and there is JConstruct 2e, which is terminal user UI, UI, terminal user interface, uh, and I said it's somewhat dependent on the Reggae, and this is it, the Reggae profile. Uh, it's effectively going to set up your jails so they update PF and local unbound. That's what this profile means. And I'm gonna give it a name. Okay, why not? So generic. And I don't wanna store it with boot. I want you here. Okay, give me VNet. And there is, I know somewhere. Oh, yeah, here. Uh, I wanted to use real DHCP because CBSD, sorry, Reggae already configured the jail with DHCP server, so why not use it? Uh, okay, I think this is all. Let's see. So when you choose a profile, there are two things that are going to actually happen. One is the profile itself, and one is a skeleton for the jail that is going to be applied on your right, right. So let's say this is probably the how to say the workflow. You create something, you made a mistake, quickly destroy it, and I need. Let me see. Let me see. I need VNet, so I need rule set number 9, right? And let's see if construct can do that. Jail2. This is real DHCP. Don't store use VNet. Now jail options. Okay, there is much more that uh, CBSD can do than that is available through the TUI, and one of those is how to set the rules for /dev. And if you say no, you will get the command how to create this uh, jail. Uh, you will get its configuration. So you can do the following. Let's say I want to change something. So that FS rule set, I know I want it to be 8, right? And then I'm going to create my jail. It's gonna look pretty similar. It's just one CBSD variable that is being tuned. So let's see what we get with that. All right, now this looks promising. I got an address. And now if I log in to jail2, I can see there is address on ETH0 and DH client is running. What Reggae does on top is installs DHCP CD, but CBSD, Reggae kind of is a playground and CBSD is stable. So CBSD is using whatever the base operating system is using and it doesn't deviate. So that's what happens here. But if you install, for example, you say, I want this CPCD, and you just install it, then I think that is what's going to be used. Let me see. No. Okay, I'm wrong. Uh, but what I'm trying to say is that CBSD is more basic for a reason. It's trying to be as compatible with the base system as it can be, and Reggae can allow itself to deviate slightly from that. Uh, Basically, every uh, CBSD jail or jail is Reggae jail also, right? So let's say we want to stop jail. This is how we do it. And if we want to create an image out of this jail 2, this is how we do it with a J export. And what CBSD is going to do with while exporting is it's going to create gzipped, I think, or xz, but it's gonna create compressed image combining configuration and image of a jail itself, and it's gonna tell you where it is. So there is jail 2. Now I wanna create one intentional error. Now if you try to import that, it doesn't work because this is in export and this is in import, right? So it's basically gonna tell you either copy or link the images, and let me do it like this. I am going to move it here, and then I'm going to destroy this jail. And when I list my, wow, what is going on? Oh, yeah, this is long. Okay, let me destroy that quickly. All right, a little better. So there is no jail 2 in this list, right? But there is jail 1. I have no idea what it does. So destroy. And now if I say j import jail 2, it's going to, well, import. Okay? And if I look at the running ones, it's not there, but if I start it, so it got new jail ID, but it's basically started with old configuration. So we still have ETH0. If you remember, this address changed because I think this address changed. But basically, we have what we had before, the Edge client working and our network working. Okay, so this is this is the easiest way to use just CBSD on a Reggae initialized system, and let's see what you would actually do. What makes it Reggae specific? Um, One is obviously this DevFS rules, which Reggae assumes there is a DHCP client, sorry, DHCP server. So it creates it like this. But let's see. How do we just create default jail? Is going to be jail 1. Now, this DHCP address means that CBSD is going to run through the addresses that are configured, the range of addresses that is configured for it, and is going to find the first available address and assign that to the jail. So this is non-VNet jail. This is how it works. Also, I don't want it here. And let's say I want it here and explicitly do something to PF in order to enable it. Okay? You can see that host name is not based, jail host name is not based on hoster. So it's what Reggae defines by default, but CBSD doesn't, and it's giving you the proper freedom and flexibility to really do everything. And you can see that every time you get these two most common uh, commands, like most important commands, 5 of them to actually do stuff with your jail. And now let's JStart jail 1 and it's registered. Idea. No, I'm just kidding. This file was added and it does Reggae register. If you don't have Reggae, this won't happen. And you can see that this was added as non-VNet jail because it sees all the interfaces, but it has address only on one of them. Right, and there is no address on low 0. If you ask it, you can see it's non-VNet jail, but it's still jailed. Okay, and if there wasn't for any Reggae, even this registration wouldn't happen. But it's really bad if you leave people stranded without network connection. And what I'm talking about is actually this table in combination with this rule is what gives jails on my system access to the internet. Unfortunately, it is all IPv4. I am not happy to report that. Reason is we have to jump loops here to get IPv6. And I am going to have to explore that stack. That's on my agenda. I mean, for Reggae. But CBSD lets you configure it any way you want. What else? Yeah, this is how it looks like. Real DHCPD. Real DHCP is almost certainly VNet jail, and you can tell non-VNet by an IP address. Because CBSD is not um, it doesn't peek into the jail to figure out an address when real DHCP is used. And that's because you have DNS. So if I ask it, where is this? It's gonna give me a proper address of that jail. So if local unbound and DHCP server are already containing this address, CBSD doesn't have to. It's just simpler, right? And maybe it could query this too, be a little slower if you give it an option. Maybe something to think about in the future, but yeah. Uh, so uh, I've shown you the basics of the not the basics, but like a vocabulary, how to uh, understand CBSD, how to work with it, how to create um, basic, really basic administration. There is absolutely no provisioning on top because that's a topic on its own. But what you can do, oh yeah, you probably can't do this. Let me try. Yeah, it doesn't work. So you have this address here. Uh, so if I go into either jail 1 or jail 2, this should actually work. You can install a package, but it doesn't really uh, use it, right? So any package, it can be installed through the jail, and a normal uh, init is used, and everything is pretty much like the host. So I would like to. This is a site where we're very slowly migrating documentation, but it's done in a software that is meant for writing documentation and searching and indexing, so it's easier for the reader to navigate through the documentation. But we are still uh, migrating, and what we are migrating from is, just give you the whole, what we're migrating from is this second site. It's a more complete, not just documentation site from CBSD. Uh, it's where it all started. So there are success stories or some info not strictly considered documentation. Uh, this is this is a very good way to start and to play with it. Of course, yeah, I am constantly talking about jail, but there is also bconstruct 2e, and you can say, okay, create a FreeBSD. How about the simplest one? And you name it. Okay, why not FreeBSD one? Downtown start. Okay, how about being here? And hmm, there are audio options. Yeah, Beehive can um, a virtual audio device that is represented as real hardware to the VM. So I'm really glad for this feature because I fiddle with audio a lot, and it's really easier if you want to see how some other operating system did it. Okay, so you can basically create a virtual machine, and when you store it, I think it will actually download. Yeah, and create the virtual machine itself. So I'm gonna let it download while I'll tell you about a few features that um, Reggae is not using at all. The reason why it's not using is, for example, one technology is RCctl. It's used to even more strength, tighten the security of a jail, and it will, if you can really, really restrict your application, then even potential attack will be crippled. That's the idea of mitigation. Give your jail the least amount of privileges. Uh, so even if you have a bug in your application, the attacker will be, well, at least harder to exploit your bug, right? And RCctl or resource control, it's even wider. It's really wide topic. Yeah, yeah, this is what I was waiting for. And if I say, okay, give me what? Ah, come on. You obviously have more stuff, but there is something specific that I'm searching for, and I'm obviously. Oh yeah, here it is. So dialog based UI for these two. I didn't call it properly. So you can even, let's say what it offers. But you have somewhat let's say, development oriented security, like um, extra knobs. So let's say I want this one to edit, and this is what you can do, right? So you can see it's quite a list of what one process inside a jail is allowed to execute or how to behave. right? So those are extra measures. Um, Damn it. Okay, so when I'm piping, obviously it's not a color, so I will get everything. Oh yeah, there are these two commands that you're going to use during your maintenance of the jails. Uh, CBSD by default creates what is called thin jails, but it can very well manage thick jails. The difference between the two is that thin jail is a base operating system in one uh, directory mounted as read only, while the difference between the base and the jail itself is stored on um, another directory, and it can be also, of course, ZFS dataset. So if you do use thin jails, then you're going to have some bases which are mounted inside your jails, and I'm only having 13.0. But if you try to maintain such a base, it's mounted read only inside a jail, so you can't. And that's why there is this special command for just updating uh, the base of your thin jails. Of course, I'm updated, so there is nothing to download, but this is what you would do. And this is how you would maintain how you would upgrade and update your uh, jails. If you have a thick jail, then it's just like a FreeBSD. If it's a thin jail, then this is a slight difference uh, compared to the hoster and just FreeBSD on some hardware. Um, I think that this was quite a quite a few commands and info to absorb. So today I'm going to finish a little earlier because this is quite a list to absorb, and I don't want to just dump a list of commands on you like this help here and sound like repeating what's already there. These are just the basic commands. Obviously, there is close to what close to 260 commands that uh, CBSD can execute, and even some if you look at a list ZFS list and specifically for this jail 2, you can create a snapshot of that jail without CBSD knowing about it because ZFS management is easy on its own. So you don't need a helper there. But um, you can create a snapshot of this jail and do whatever inside the jail, and you if you don't like it, then you revert it. It's just from the ZFS perspective, this is just a data set, so it will happen whatever happened before in a previous streams when I talked about ZFS snapshot and rollback. Um, what I'm trying to say is that jails and CBSD and Reggae are trying really hard to integrate well into base system, and the consequence of that, the nice thing that we got with that is that management commands of other tools like ZFS or PF can be used to extend uh, functionalities, right? So this is quite a lot, I know. I hope I didn't scare you with this one. I hope it was explanatory enough while being fun. Uh, See you next week when we're going to dive more into FreeBSD and what it offers and why those technologies are there and what's going on with kind of development. What course is it taking? Not that I'm a FreeBSD developer, but I pretty much pay attention to some of the areas of FreeBSD that I'm really interested in. And I think I can share some pretty cool stuff. Anyway, thank you for watching. It's been my privilege. And please consider two Patreon pages. One is CloneOS, which is umbrella for CBSD, Reggae, and web interface called Clonos uh, that is using CBSD under the hood. And the other one is Tilda Center, which is dedicated to knowledge and sharing it uh, as a free software free documentation. Uh, our how to say, our goal is to make courses free for everyone all the time as much as we can. So check them out. And oh yeah, we are we are uh, publishing all our content on this page. Is basically a YouTube with different playlists where it's all arranged so you can watch it more continuous way. So thank you again.